Hi guys, this is Madhavji Patil. For Sports to Science, here we are going to be looking at heart rate variation in sports physiology. So, what is heart rate variation? So, this is basically a variation from one heartbeat to the second heartbeat. So, let's see here. In this picture, we are seeing an ECG interpretation of a heartbeat where there is Q. In you here, you can see the QRS peak on the two graphs where you see RR interval. There is one heartbeat and the second heartbeat. So the time difference between the one beat and the second beat is known as the heart rate variation. So you have to see how the first heartbeat, when the first heartbeat takes place, second, third and fourth. You see what is the time difference between 1 and 2, what is the time difference between 2 and 3, next 3 and 4. So this variation is known as heart rate variation. Okay, so what does it imply? What does this variation imply? So it this heart rate variation is easily used to see how the autonomic nervous system, let it be the sympathetic fight or flight response or parasympathetic vagal tone, that is recovery or rest. So from this heart rate variation we can understand which the sympathetic or the parasympathetic system which is on a dominant state. Okay, so why is it used in sports? So it helps you understand, monitor the internal load better than the external training metrics. You see a person running 100 meters, you see how fast they are running, or you see the time that they took to run from 0 to 100 meters. So that is the external training metrics. But what is internal training load? From this heart rate variation, you're understanding, you're calculating it. You will understand how their body is taking that load. What happens in their body? Is it too hard for them? Are they recovering fast from them? So all of those things you can understand from the heart rate variation. So indicates fatigue, readiness, and adaptation to training. So you can see this heart rate variation. It helps you understand if they are fatigued. Are they ready for the next training sessions? Or while recording it, it helps you understand if are they adapting to the training that regime that they have been doing. So essential for personalizing recovery and intensity plans. For if you're doing a group session where we have few athletes in our hand, this heart rate variation will help you understand if, like, are they ready or are they adapting, or this can easily give a personalized plan. Even those three people, you're training three people for the same sport, you're giving them the same workout, but their body might take it in a different load. The body every single person might feel it different doing that exercise. So this will help you understand if, what recovery plan or how intensity you should give to all those three people. Next, how is this heart rate variation measured? First one is time domain metric. So this is a most simplest form where you see how each and every heartbeat is taking place, and you check the time difference in between them. So that's why it is called time domain metric. So in here you see the first one we'll see is SDNN, that is standard deviation of normal intervals. Basically this is done for a very long amount of time, like 24 hours, but the shortest that you can do is for 5 minutes. So here you are seeing an overall understanding of how the body is adapting to this parasympathetic or sympathetic tone. So when it comes to sports perspective, this is used for marathon runners who generally check their heart rate variability for 30 days, maybe understanding how they are coping up with their workout plan or how they are doing it, so that you can easily understand how much intensity or how much time duration you should push the athlete for today. When it comes to root mean square deviation of the normal heartbeats, what happens is it is checking beat to beat. It helps you understand in a very short amount of time. So this is easily used to understand the recovery of an athlete. You are making them run 100 meters. After that, how are they recovering from the sympathetic system of doing 100 meters? How are they moving into a parasympathetic system? So this RMSSD is used to understand their recovery. This is very short and it is very useful. Now frequency domain. When it comes to time domain, one important thing is that, so all of this is done via calculations by a lot of using Python and any other softwares. There are different formulas that you have to put in, and from that you understand. So it is not calculated by ourselves, it is calculated by the system after understanding when a heartbeat is taking place. Next one is frequency domain. So this frequency domain, you understand it from the same heartbeat. There are FFTs which understand what frequency that heartbeat is, that you cannot simply hear. this is used, this FFT that is present in a lot of devices these days. It helps you understand the frequency. This same device is used in very high grade musical concerts and all those stuff also. So it's a very sophisticated software that you have to understand, not just software or hardware too. So you understand there is low frequency, high frequency, low frequency by high frequency ratio in this. So low frequency, if a heartbeat is happening in a low frequency, that is from 0.05 to 0.14, heartbeat in between that frequency has both sympathetic and parasympathetic together in it. But generally what happens is people take that as sympathetic. If a heartbeat is in low frequency, they think that it is sympathetic, but it is not in such a way. It has both sympathetic and parasympathetic dominance in it. So why that confusion happens is because of this high frequency ranging from 0.15 to 0.5 hertz. That is basically parasympathetic system. If a person has high frequency heart rate, they are completely under parasympathetic dominance. And this ratio of low frequency high frequency, that is currently used majorly to understand how the person is, because if the ratio is on a higher level where low frequency is higher than high frequency, if the dominance is higher, that means that they are on sympathetic dominance. Whereas if the ratio is lower, that means that they are in a parasympathetic balance. So this ratio is currently used more to understand what system they are majorly on. Next one, what are the different devices that we use? Here you can see, I'll show you two different devices. First one is Polar. So this Polar heart rate monitor, it is a small thing that you wear. It's like a chest strap. You wear it, there are electrodes present in it, which helps you understand the heart rate. And there is ECG machine where it is used in a lot of clinical settings in hospitals and stuff, which again helps you understand heartbeat to beat, and it will help you understand the heart rate variation. There are other smart variables like Whoop band or smart rings which come out these days, which has the same features. So monitoring training load with this heart rate variation. So how do we classify? Here we can see increasing in intensity and reducing in heart rate variation. When a person is doing very high intensity activity, what happens is they go into a sympathetic dominant system. So when that happens, they start having beats very fast. So like there is first beat, second beat, third beat, fourth beat, it happens very fast. That heart rate increases. When that increases, the variation reduces. What it means is that the time difference between 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6 reduces. The heart rate variation becomes very low. It tends to beat every consecutive in a metronome kind of way. So what happens is, that means that they are on a very sympathetic dominant system where they are highly stressed. So with this we can understand how a person's daily workload is. You're giving them a workout today. With this heart rate variation, we can understand how effective was it, how are they recovering from it. This can also be used to understand a weekly workload. You give them a workout today, you give them a very intensity workout, let it be a marathon runner, you made them run a 42-kilometer race itself. Just think, for an example, you'll understand how in a week, in the next 4-5 days, you'll understand how they are recovering from it. How much days does it take for them to recover? So we can plan the next session according to that, and also we'll understand how they generally can perform in a competition too. So one main thing that you have to understand is this heart rate variation is sensitive to all the internal stress. It may be physical and it can also be psychological stress that is there. It's just not a heart rate alone. You cannot simply say it is like, how the heart beats is heart rate variation. No, this heart rate variation has everything included in it. Even if you breathe different, you can see a difference in heart rate variation. You breathe slower, the heart rate variability increases. So this talks about the complete internal stress, not just the heart rate alone. So detecting overtraining with heart rate variation, this is something that is very important and which should be used. First one is, when you have consistently low heart rate variation, there is a risk of overtraining syndrome or non-functional overreaching. So what is functional overreaching is, basically you push the person, after that you give them sufficient rest. So what happens, their baseline increases and they perform better. But if a person is consistently having low heart rate variation, so what happens is, they understand they are on a complete sympathetic dominance and their body is not taking the stress properly. They are not completely recovering from that workload. So you can understand if they have overtraining or non-functional overreaching. Second one, it is an early indicator of burnout or performance plateau. So you understand that if you're looking at only the external load, you will have to make them do the workout to understand if they are burnt out or if their performance is plateauing. But this, if you're following the heart rate variation, you will basically understand if this is the road are they going towards a burnout. Do you think that this is going to cause them performance plateau? So this is an early indicator. You can easily understand it before itself. Next one is orthostatic heart rate variability test. Okay, so let's take the same example of you're making a person or an athlete run for a whole 42 kilometer marathon. So what happens here is you make them run. After 3 or 4 days, this test basically makes the person lie down first, understand how their heart rate variation is. After then, you make them stand and check their heart rate variation. If there is a very big difference and the person has very low heart rate variation when they're standing, it easily makes us understand, okay, that person has not fully recovered. So this orthostatic heart rate variation test is used to understand if they have recovered, and this can be used very easily to understand when they should stop the rest and go back to working out fully, or should they continue the rest period. So using it to track recovery, post-exercise heart rate variation indicates how quickly the autonomic system rebounds. So again, I am saying, like, a person, once they start doing an activity or an exercise and it is of higher intensity, they'll go to sympathetic system. So to track recovery, you can see how fast they are coming back to parasympathetic systems. So how does that actually work is, you can understand from the day one how much time do they take to recover. Let's take for an example a football player who will have to run n number of times during a game. So if they do a sprint, they have to recover before they have to do the second sprint, no? So that time period should be small. So to understand how they are doing it better, this heart rate variation, you can use a tracker like a polar monitor to understand how the how the autonomic system is rebounding, so that it helps us understand the training load and understand how much we have to push them to reach to the point where they can easily perform. So here, fast rate heart rate recovery basically means that better aerobic fitness. So if the heart rate variation is getting higher with very low amount of time, that means that they have a better higher aerobic fitness. Instead of doing a whole VO2 max test, we can easily try to understand if they have it kind of indicates that. So interval training causes lower parasympathetic recovery than steady state. So what it says is, a person who's doing interval training, who does 300 meter sprint, waits for some time, again doing a 300 meter sprint, again having a short rest period, doing a 300 meter sprint. So what it says is, here there is an interval training which causes lower parasympathetic dominance. So the recovery happens lower in such a case. But when a person is doing a steady state run, they are going for a 10 kilometer run continuously and they stop working out after the 10 kilometer. So the time that takes to recover in that steady state run, they recover faster compared to interval training. So how can we give guided personalized training using this heart rate variability? So for them, if they have low heart rate variation, basically the heart is beating consecutively like a metronome, what it says is they should take a light or a rest day so that they recover completely. But if they have a high heart rate variation, what it says is you can give them intense training for that day. So using this, we can reduce the unnecessary fatigue, which is basically non-functional overreaching. You can easily reduce that, and you can improve fitness with lesser number of sessions. We understand how they are performing. You can check their load for that day. You give them the workout. So this is basically not unnecessarily pushing them, but pushing them at the specific point. So what happens, the fitness that you achieve if you have non-functional overreaching is reduced, and you get into a better shape even faster. So in summary, why does this heart rate variation matter? So this basically helps you to track, adapt the readiness and stress levels, understand how they are physically and psychologically adapting to that training method, and you can use it to understand if they are ready for that session today. It prevents overtraining and helps you avoid unnecessary injuries. So with this training load, this heart rate variation, if you have this device and if you're controlling it, you can easily avoid injuries which are caused because of overtraining. So this supports a smart, personalized training decision for peak performance. So this matters a lot when you're looking at a performance for a 100-meter sprinter to reduce that 0.05 seconds, for a marathon runner to reduce that 1 minute, which has been very tough. To get to those points, this heart rate variation matters a lot. I hope you guys understood what heart rate variation is and how does it matter in sport performance. See you for the next.